Dear students, we have studied two parts of the lesson, A Truly Beautiful Mind, and today we are going to discuss and explain the third part of this lesson, that is the exercise of the lesson. And before going to the exercise of lesson, let us summarize the entire chapter in few lines. Albert Einstein was born in German city of Ulm. In his childhood, he hadn't any indication of becoming great. His mother called him a freak, and his playmates used to call him Brother Boring. The headmaster of the school thought him a stupid and good for nothing. But he was good at mathematics and physics. He scored highest marks in almost all subjects. He learned to play violin at the age of 6. After completion of school education, he was sent to Zurich University for higher education. There he met a Serbian girl, Meliva, who was studying in the same university and was equally clever and intelligent. Later they married and had 2 sons, but the marriage couldn't last long. After some years, they divorced. Now Einstein married his cousin Eliza. At the university, he published his paper on theory of relativity, which brought a scientific revolution in the scientific world. For this great achievement, he was awarded with Nobel Prize. In the meantime, Nazis came into power in Germany, and Einstein immigrated to America because he thought that Nazis had ability to develop atom bomb. He wrote a letter to US President Roosevelt explaining the dangers and consequences of nuclear bomb. Perhaps this was his mistake, because America developed atomic bomb in a secret project and dropped them on Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He was badly hurt by the destruction caused by these bombs and wrote a public letter to UN advocating for the formation of world government. He involved in politics and worked for peace and democracy. In this way, he became a world citizen. He died in the year of 1955. Students, this was all about the summary of the lesson. And to develop all language skills, you must watch this presentation. And after watching the presentation, we shall discuss and explain the exercise of this lesson. Dear students, the title of the chapter, Truly Beautiful Mind, refers to Albert Einstein. Some of his qualities have been highlighted in this lesson. The chapter also highlights the other side of his life, that he concerns and promotes human welfare. And that is the reason why the title of the story is A Truly Beautiful Mind. In 14th March 1979, Albert Einstein was born in German city of Ulm. He was a strange and unusual child, as his mother usually thought, because of abnormally large size of his head, and also he was a late talker, as he started talking at the age of 2.5. In childhood, his playmates considered him to be boring, and the headmaster of his school regarded him stupid and good for nothing. Einstein started his school education in Munich, and there he worked hard and scored good marks in almost all subjects. But the keen student of mathematics and physics hated the strict discipline of the school and the harsh behavior of the teachers. He was always in clashes with his teachers. He loved only one thing in the school, that was to play on violin, and he became amateur violinist and left the school for good. After completion of his school education, he went to Switzerland, and in Switzerland he joined the University of Zurich in 1902 and continued his study there. While studying in University of Zurich in 1902, he fell in love with a Serbian girl whose name was Meliva Merrick, who was studying in the same university, and after some time they got married. Meliva gave birth to 2 children, but the marriage could not last long. In 1919, they divorced and married cousin Elisa. Worked day and night and published his first paper explaining the theory of relativity, that is, E is equal to mc square. As a result of his sheer work on the theory of relativity, he listed his name among the great scientists of the world. His work on the theory of relativity brought a scientific revolution in the scientific world. And for this, he was awarded with Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921. When Nazis came into power in Germany, he was the most targeted person by FBI police. Therefore, he immigrated to America because the FBI was behind him for 20 years. He wrote a letter to Roosevelt, the then President of America, explaining the consequences of atomic bomb. But the American turned deaf ear towards him, and American made atomic bomb in a secret project and dropped them on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Again, he wrote a letter to UN this time. In his letter to United Nations, he advocated for the formation of world government and got involved in world politics and worked for peace and democracy. He was in the favor of destroying all arms of the world for the welfare of human society. But the great scientist died in 1955. This was the end of the life of a visionary world citizen, Albert Einstein. Dear students, after this explanation, let's go through the exercise and discuss the question one by one. The question number 1 is, here are some headings given to the paragraphs of your textbook. One has been done for you, that is Einstein's equation. It is a suitable heading for paragraph 9. Similarly, you have to write the number of paragraph within the brackets given below, and the suitable headings are given here. The second one is Einstein meets his future wife. It is a heading for paragraph number 7, and you have to write 7 within this bracket. And similarly, the making of violinist, it is a heading for paragraph number 3. Maliva and Einstein's mother, it is a heading for paragraph number 10, and so on. You have to write the number of paragraph within these brackets. And for next question number 2, who had these opinions about Einstein? These are some opinions given here, and whose opinions are these? First is, he was boring. His playmates used to call him brother boring. Similarly, he was stupid and would never succeed in his life. It was the opinion of his headmaster. He was a freak. It was opinion of his mother, who called him a freak. In question number 3, you have to give the reason. First is Einstein leaving the school for good. Why? It was because of the strict regimentation of the school. Because school has strict regimentation, strict rules and regulations to maintain discipline, and so Einstein left the school for good. You have to give reason for this. Einstein wanting to study in Switzerland rather than Munich, because Switzerland was more liberal than Munich. That's why Einstein wanted to study there. The third is Einstein seeing in Maliva and Ellie. She was Ellie against Philistine, who dislike art, literature and music. Fourth one is, what do these tell you about Einstein? What do these tell you about Einstein? He loved freedom. He was a liberal. And the question number 4, what did Einstein call the desk drawer at the patent office. And why? When he was working at the patent office as technical expert, he called his desk drawer a Bureau of Theoretical Physics, because Einstein was actually developing his own ideas in secret, and his drawer had all the evidences which could reveal the secret. Next is, why did Einstein write a letter to Franklin Roosevelt? You know, Nazis had the ability to develop the atomic bomb, and it could destroy the whole world. So he warned Franklin Roosevelt in this letter. Next question is, how did Einstein react to the bombing of Hiroshima Nagasaki? हिरोशिमा नागासाकी पर जब बॉम्ब गिरा गए तो उसकी रिएक्शन क्या थी? This is the question. He was deeply shaken by the extent of the destruction of Japanese cities and wrote a public letter to United Nations. In this letter, he advocated for the formation of a world government. Next question is, Einstein was known as a world citizen. Why does the world remember Einstein as a world citizen? The question is this. It is because once he advocated the formation of world government and believed in universal peace, when there was the rat race of becoming atomic power, he was worried about the aftermath of the bomb. बॉम्ब के जो प्रभाव होते उनसे वो बहुत दुखी था और उनसे बहुत उसको लगता था कि बहुत खतरनाक सिद्ध होगा फॉर द यूनिवर्सल पीस, एंड दैट्स व्हाई he advocated for the formation of world government and he was remembered as a world citizen. Now thinking about the text, you have to choose the word from this bracket, from these brackets, that is most suitable for the word underlined here, and that can be used in this place. First is, a few years later the marriage faltered. The word became weak can be used here in the place of faltered. Similarly, Einstein was constantly at odds with people at university, at odds on bad terms. तो bad terms को हम odds की जगह यहाँ लिख सकते हैं. And similarly, the newspaper proclaimed his work as a scientific revolution. Proclaimed means declared. So declared can be used in the place of proclaimed here. Next is use of participle phrase. You have to understand what the participle phrase is. Participle phrase says something more about the noun or about the idea expressed by the sentence as a whole. Here you have given in a bracket the noun clause. This is a noun clause. There is a difference between clause and phrase. Clause is a simple sentence having one verb and one subject. Here they worked round a clock. It is a clause, and in place of this clause you have to put a participle phrase. This is participle phrase. Working around the clock. Working around the clock. Participle phrase doesn't give a clear-cut meaning. You have to change this noun clause to participle phrase. One has been done for you. Working around the clock, the firefighters finally put out the fire. Working around the clock, ये बनाया गया है they worked around the clock से. Similarly, in the next sentence, you have given a phrase, a clause, sorry. She noticed the color blending softly into one another. In place of this clause, you have to put participle phrase like this. The sentence is, she watched the sunset above the mountain, noticing the color blending softly into one another. तो इस तरह से आपको जो ये फ्रेज क्लॉज दी है नॉन क्लॉज, इसकी जगह आपको पार्टिसिपल फ्रेज का यूज करना है. सिमिलरली there are certain sentences given in your textbook, in the exercise of your textbook. You try yourself and try to convert non-clause into participle phrase. This is all about your exercise. Thank you.